It's one of those situations where something may be legally sound but morally questionable. And I want to reflect not merely on a court case, but on the symbolic moment that speaks to the law, lineage, a kingdom's emotional estrangement. Prince Harry, the spare turned self-exile, has lost his final appeal over the right to automatic police protection in the United Kingdom. It is, in legal terms, a procedurally correct decision, but it is, in moral terms, a lamentable failure. Let's begin with the ruling itself. Prince Harry had challenged the Home Office's 2020 decision taken by the Royal and VIP Executive Committee, or RAVEC, to downgrade his taxpayer-funded security following his withdrawal from frontline royal duties, and their refusal to let him pay for the same support. His argument was straightforward. He was being singled out for inferior treatment and denied a fair process. His life, his lawyers insisted, was at stake. They cited death threats, extremist rhetoric, and the enduring legacy of his mother's fatal car crash through Paris. Sir Geoffrey Voss, Master of the Rolls, delivered the judgment. He called the Prince's arguments powerful and moving, acknowledged the sense of grievance, but ultimately concluded that none of it translated into a legal basis to overturn the decision. The law, he said, had been followed. The discretion of Sir Richard Mottram, RAVEC's chair, had been properly exercised. The reasoning was not illogical, and therefore the case was closed. But is that where the story really ends? I think not. For what we witnessed in this case was not merely a legal resolution, but a human unravelling, and Prince Harry emerged from this ruling devastated. He said it was now impossible for him to bring his family, Meghan, Archie and Lilibet, back to Britain. His words were not the polished diplomacy of Windsor, they were raw. I don't know how long my father has left, and most poignantly, I love my country, but I can't return. Therein lies the tragedy, a man raised in the gilded rituals of state and duty, now marooned by both. Not because of personal petulance, but because of the machinery of governance, however legally correct, which appears bereft of compassion. There is something terribly British, perhaps too British, about this whole sorry affair, a quiet, bureaucratic betrayal carried out in the name of policy and precedent, and the phrase used was bespoke security arrangements. But bespoke, in this case, didn't mean better, it meant lesser. It meant Harry was out of the cohort, out of the fold, and RAVEC didn't consult the Risk Management Board. It claimed its internal expertise was enough. But Harry had not committed a crime. He had committed modernity. He had stepped back, but not away. He sought a new model of public service, and he offered to pay for that protection. The answer, the police are not for hire. Well, that may be true in law, but it's poor consolation to a man with real credible threats against him, whose only crime is failing to conform to a monarchy increasingly confused by its own purpose. Harry has said that this case matters more to him than all the battles with the press, and that is telling, because this was not simply about protection, it was about recognition, about being seen by the institution that made him, and perhaps most damningly by the family he still calls his own. He insists he didn't ask his father to intervene, but the subtext is clear. He hoped Charles might. Instead, Buckingham Palace stood aloof, citing propriety, and the King's own private secretary sits on RAVEC. Whatever the constitutional distance, the emotional distance now appears unbridgeable. The cost is not just legal, it's generational. Archie and Lilibet may never know Frogmore Cottage, never walk through Kensington Gardens, never truly know the land that they are heir to in blood, if not in practice. So yes, the court was correct in law. But justice is not always the same thing as legality, and sometimes to uphold a principle is to forsake a person. And this ruling may make constitutional sense, but it leaves behind the bitter taste of institutional coldness. Prince Harry sought safety and found silence. What he deserved was something far rarer in public life: understanding. And so Britain has secured the letter of its law, but lost, perhaps irrevocably, a son of its house.